Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This is the Bodega Cat Book Club Health Edition. And today we're continuing our reading of Your Body's Many Cries for Water by Dr. B. I'll call him Dr. B. I don't know how to pronounce that name. But I do like the fact that it has the word Batman in there. That's kind of fun. Anyways, subtitle is You're Not Sick, You're Thirsty. Don't treat thirst with medication. So this book was inspired by fundamentals. I think fundamentals are important. Understanding the fundamentals and how the world works is important. And water is just one of those things that we cannot do without. You know, we need water to survive. So anyways, this is chapter 3, and we'll be reading part 1 today. Okay, if you have a book, you could follow with us with your book. If not, you can follow with us here on the screen. And in the meantime, check out our other book clubs. We have spiritual book clubs on Mondays and then financial book clubs on Thursdays. And we also have a monthly newsletter that we put out. So sign up for that to kind of keep up with what we're doing. And we also have podcasts that we put out once in a while. So you could check that out on our website as well. And if you like what we're doing and you want to support us, please check out our merch and check out our YouTube channel. And if you're local in the Los Angeles area, come visit us in person. We use technologies based on Nikola Tesla's scalar wave research for holistic healing for animals and people. So you could check out those information on our website as well. Okay, let's do this. Chapter 3, Dyspeptic Pain, a newly recognized emergency thirst signal of the human body. Dyspeptic pain is the most important signal for the human body. It denotes dehydration. It is a thirst signal of the body. It can occur in the very young as well as in older people. Chronic and persistently increasing dehydration is the root cause of almost all currently encountered major diseases of the human body. Of the dyspeptic pains, those of gastritis, duodenitis, and heartburn should be treated with an increase in water intake alone. When there is associated ulceration, attention to the daily diet to enhance the rate of repair of the ulcer site becomes necessary. According to Professor Howard Spiral of Yale University, it is generally understood that 12% of those with dyspepsia develop ulceration in their duodenum or duodenum, however you want to say that, after 6 years, 30% after 10 years, and 40% after 27 years. It is the dyspeptic pain that is of significance, although the condition develops importance once the ulceration is viewed through the endoscopic examination. It seems that medical practice is becoming more and more a visually oriented discipline, rather than the perceptive and thought-based art that it was at one time. It is the pain associated with these differently classified conditions that forces a person to consult a medical practitioner. It is this pain that is now getting much attention, even though many different jargons are attached to the local conditions seen through the endoscope. The common factor is the dyspeptic pain. The local tissue change is the descriptive explanation for the changes brought about by the basic common factor, namely the initiating dehydration. How am I able to make such claims? I have treated with only water well over 3,000 persons with dyspeptic pain who had other distinguishing characteristics to classify them according to those jargons. They all responded to an increase in their water intake, and their clinical problems associated with the pain disappeared. The report of my new way of treating dyspeptic pain with water was published as the editorial article in the Journal of Clinical Gastroenterology in June 1983. At a certain threshold of dehydration, when the body urgently calls for water, nothing else can substitute. No medication other than water is effective. One of the many patients I treated with water stands out and proves this fact. He was a young man in his 20s. He had suffered from peptic ulcer disease for a number of years before the crisis time when I met him. He had had the usual diagnostic procedures performed on him and had received the label of duodenal ulcer or duodenal ulcer. He had been given antacids and brand name cimetidine medications. Cimetidine is a form of very strong medication that blocks the action of histamine on its second type receiver points, generally known as receptors in the body, and in this case known as histamine 2 or H2 receptors. Some cells in the stomach that produce acid are sensitive to this medication. However, many other cells in the body that do not produce acid are also sensitive to the blocking action of the medication. That is why this medication has many side effects, including impotence in the young, and has proven extremely dangerous in the chronically dehydrated older age group. The first time I set eyes on the young man was at 11 p.m. one evening in the summer of 1980. He was in such pain that he was almost semi-conscious. He was folded in the fetal position on the floor of his room. He was groaning steadily, unaware of his environment and the worried people around him. When I talked to him, he did not respond. He was not communicating with those around him. I had to shake him to get a response. I asked him what the matter was. He groaned, "My ulcer is killing me." I asked him how long he had had the pain. He said it started at 1 p.m. immediately after lunch. The pain had increased in intensity as time passed. I asked him what he had done to get relief. He replied that he had taken 3 tablets of cimetidine and 1 whole bottle of antacid. He indicated that he had had absolutely no relief, even with this amount of medication in the 10 hours since his pain first started. When so much medication cannot relieve the pain of peptic ulcer disease, one automatically suspects acute abdomen, something that might need surgical exploration. Maybe his ulcer had perforated. I had seen and assisted in operations on patients with perforated peptic ulcers. These patients are devastated. Very much like the young man before me. The test is very simple. Such patients develop a very rigid abdominal wall, almost like a wooden board. I felt for the rigidity of the wall of his abdomen. Fortunately, he had not perforated. His abdominal wall was soft and tender from the pain. He was lucky he had not perforated, although if he had continued like this, the acid would have punched a hole through his now inflamed ulcer. The arsenal of medications in such circumstances is very limited. 3 cimetidine tablets of 300 milligrams each and 1 full bottle of antacid could not relieve the pain. Often, such cases would end on the operating table with a knife-happy surgeon. Ain't that the truth? Knife-happy surgeon. Just a side note there. Yeah, they got to pay for their BMW. Probably the 3rd BMW, right? Because of my extensive experience with the pain-relieving property of water in dyspeptic pains, I gave this man 2 full glasses of water, 1 pint. At first, he was reluctant to drink the water. I told him he had taken the usual medications without any result. He should now try my medication for this disease. He had no choice. He was in severe pain and did not know what to do about it. I sat in a corner and observed him for a few minutes. I had to leave the room. When I returned 15 minutes later, his pain had become less severe and his groans had stopped. I gave him another full glass of water, half a pint. In a few minutes, his pain disappeared completely and he started taking notice of the people around him. He sat up and started talking with his visitors, who were now more surprised than he at the sudden transformation that 3 glasses of water had brought about. For 10 hours, this man had suffered from pain and had taken the most potent and advanced medicines for the treatment of peptic ulcer disease without any relief. Now, 3 glasses of water have produced total relief in about 20 minutes. If you refer to figure 4 in the previous chapter and compare the statements on pain with the experience of the above patient, you will recognize the brain component to the intensity of signaling thirst in the body. After a certain threshold, local painkillers will not be effective. The antacid and H2 blocking agent cimetidine did not produce even a reduction in the pain felt by the young man. It was water alone that registered the right message with the brain to abort its call for water, since there is now an unmistakable signal of its adequate presence in the body. The same mode of pain registration is operative in other regions that signal dehydration. People with rheumatoid joint pain should be aware of this particular phenomenon of pain registration at the brain when there is severe dehydration. I had another occasion to test whether the abdominal pain registration for dehydration was time dependent or water volume dependent. This time, a man was carried into the clinic where I was working. He could not walk. He too was a peptic ulcer patient in extremely severe upper abdominal and dyspeptic pain. After examination to see that he had not perforated, I gave him 1 full glass of water every hour. He recovered after he had taken 3 glasses of water. On average, it takes less severe cases about 8 minutes to achieve total pain relief. It has been shown experimentally that when we drink 1 glassful of water, it immediately passes into the intestine and is absorbed. However, within 1/2 hour, almost the same amount of water is secreted into the stomach through its glandular layer in the mucosa. It swells from underneath and gets into the stomach. It swells from underneath and gets into the stomach, ready to be used for food breakdown. The active digestion of solid food depends on the presence of copious amounts of water. Acid is poured on the food, enzymes are activated, and the food is broken down into a homogenized fluid state that can pass into the intestine for the next phase of digestion. Mucus covers the glands layers of the mucosa, which is the innermost layer of the structure of the stomach. See figure 5. Mucus consists of 98% water and 2% physical scaffolding that traps water. In this water layer, a natural buffer state is established. The cells below secrete sodium bicarbonate that is trapped in the water layer. As the acid from the stomach tries to go through this protective layer, the bicarbonate neutralizes it. The outcome of this action is greater production of salt, sodium from the bicarbonate, and chlorine from the acid. Too much salt alters the water-holding properties of the scaffolding material of mucus. Too much acid neutralization and salt deposit in this mucus layer make it less homogeneous and sticky and allow the acid to get to the mucosal layer, causing pain. Here's the figure 5 he was talking about. So this is a picture of the stomach and the duodenum or duodenum. So you have the esophagus here. And that's the stomach right there. You got the lesser curvature and the greater curvature here, and gastric mucosa, which you talked about. And your duodenum or duodenum, it's at the tail end of the stomach. And then there's a valve between the stomach and the duodenum, often the site of ulcers in its mucosa. So I wonder if the cimetidine that he talked about works on just this little part, right? I don't know. Interesting. Okay, so then the next part of the picture, you have this little area here that he highlighted or enlarged, if you will. So this is the acid and the food. If it's well hydrated, it looks healthy. And there's many different layers of the mucosa. The lower layer is or maybe it's the outer layer, right? The outer layer is the peritoneum layer. Then you get into the muscle layer and glands layer, and then the mucus layer, which is the innermost part. I think that's what he said. So the bicarbonate deposits in the mucus layer prevent acid from going through. And his note here says, figure 5, a model of the stomach and its mucosal structures. A well-hydrated mucus barrier will retain bicarbonate and neutralize acid as it tries to pass through the mucus. A dehydrated body will also predispose to inefficient mucus barrier that will permit acid penetration and mucosal damage. Hydration will provide a better acid barrier to the mucosa than any medication on the market. And water's free. Think about that. All these expensive medication doesn't work. And water's free. Mother Nature's free. So it is my opinion only, that, with any kind of health issues, you want to start with free stuff. Then you should be okay. That's just my opinion. But anyways, let's move on. The natural design in the re-secretion of water through the mucus layer seems to be the process of backwashing the mucus layer and getting rid of the salt deposits. This is the most efficient design of rehydrating the mucus layer from the bottom when new mucus is also secreted. This refreshed, thickened, and sticky mucus barrier is the natural protective shield against the acid in the stomach. Naturally, the efficiency of this shield depends on a regular intake of water, particularly before the intake of different solid foods that stimulate the production of acid from the glands in the stomach wall. Thus, water provides the only natural protection against the acid in the stomach from base upward. Antacids are designed to attach to the acid in the stomach itself, an inefficient protection. In the same way we have a hunger pain signal, we also have a thirst pain signal in the body. It is unfortunate that this thirst signal is labeled dyspepsia and is treated with all sorts of medications until there is local duodenal, or stomach tissue damage from the metabolic complications of dehydration. The use of antacids for the relief of this pain is generally the accepted form of treatment. These substances these substances are non-prescription, slow poisons that one can buy even in supermarkets. Yeah, and over the counter, think about that. No supervision, no doctor's prescription. We're just medicating ourselves nilly-willy without proper knowledge. That's why I think it's important, just another side note, to educate yourself and also to work with your healthcare provider, because the healthcare provider have seen hundreds and thousands of patients of similar symptoms, right? So they have an idea of what works and what doesn't. But you are your own physician. So you want to it should be your healthcare provider and you should be a symbiotic relationship. You work together, you take what they say and their quote expertise, but you want to tailor it to your own body and your own health, because what might work for other people might not work for you and vice versa. So anyways, just a side note, my little 2 cents there. Significant research conducted in Sweden has shown that the outcome is the same in those who do not have an actual ulcer, yet have classic dyspeptic pain, whether or not they use a placebo, an acid, or even the agent that blocks the action of histamine. In other words, neither an acid nor stronger medication is all that effective. It is at this stage of body physiology, now generating signals of dehydration, that one should be prudent and refrain from the use of any form of medication. Water is probably the only effective substance to give relief. After all, water and only water is what the body wants, needs, and is calling for. If we search accurately for other signs, there will be more indicators of dehydration. Do not imagine that dyspeptic pain is the indicator of an isolated and localized phenomenon. In any case, dyspeptic pain is a signal of dehydration, a thirst signal of the body, even if there is an associated ulcer. If water is taken and it relieves your pain with adequate food intake, the ulcer is bound to repair itself in due time. The body, another side note there, the body has an amazing ability to heal itself. Absolutely amazing, 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 amazing. This is truly a symphony or a masterpiece of God's creation, in my opinion. You just have to give, as the host of the body, you just have to give the body the equipment that it needs to, work its magic, whether that is water, whether that is, organic, healthy food, whatever it might be. You just give the body what it needs. Okay, a little squirrel there. Antacids that contain aluminum are dangerous. They should not be freely used for a condition that responds to an increase in water intake. Excessive aluminum in circulation has been strongly implicated as a precipitating factor on top of other considerations in Alzheimer's type disease. It is imperative to understand this relationship between taking aluminum-containing acids and acids for a long period of time and other possible cumulative toxic side effect of brain damage in Alzheimer's disease. No amount of genetic study will undo the toxic side effect of a metal used in medications to deal with the simple signal of thirst under a wrong paradigm. Most antacids contain between 150 to 600 milligrams of aluminum in every spoonful of liquid or in each tablet. Wow, I didn't realize antacids have aluminum. Wow, I learn something new every day. The island of Guam has much aluminum ore in its soil. Normally, the case for some regions in the Western Pacific, Guam, Japan's Key Peninsula, Western New Guinea, and others, the drinking water of Guam was heavily contaminated with aluminum. During the time this contamination was not recognized and remained in the drinking water, a disease similar to Alzheimer's dementia was prevalent on the island. Even the younger people seemed to suffer from the disease. A number of years ago, this problem was recognized and the water was purified. It has been noticed that the younger people seem not to be afflicted anymore. It is now accepted that it was the aluminum toxicity in the drinking water that caused an Alzheimer's type of dementia on Guam. We'll stop here for now and we'll continue our reading next time. Boy, that was a very interesting chapter. Can you imagine? Water is free and it can just a couple glasses water can cure, well, not cure, but at least alleviate some of the pain. Interesting, eh? Mother Nature is amazing. That's my opinion. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that, and we'll continue next week. In the meantime, I hope you guys all have a great day and a great week, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.